Beatles are a duo. They are Alison Mosshart and Jamie Hince. She's from Florida. Her stage nickname is VV. He's from Hampshire, England, and his stage nickname is Hotel. They were both in established bands before they started the Kills, and I get the impression that she borderline stalked him until he agreed to form a band with her. That was 2001, and they've had 5 albums so far. Hi, my name's Dan. So this album was new to me, as I am to the band, so you're getting quite a fresh opinion from me. If this is an album that you know well, I'd love to hear what your take on it is, having heard it presumably several times. Stick something in the comments down there. Or if you're new to it, like me, and you want to give me your first impressions, I'd love to hear what you think. So please stick something, no matter how short, in the comments. I'd love to hear from people. Down there also, there's a big red button with the word subscribe on it. I think you know what that means by now. I'm going to encourage you to do that because that gives me a great boost if somebody clicks subscribe. So, okay, let's get into the album. So this was their 3rd album. Like I said, it's the first time I've come across this album, and it's the first time I've come across them at all. And so I was able to have a completely blind listen to the first time through, with no information about who they were, where they were from, even what era it was. I managed to not absorb any of that and just have a listen. And immediately I liked it. It was a straight-in kind of hit for me in that way. So that's great. Let's do some descriptions. So it is garage, and that's not just me picking that up from Wikipedia. When I heard it, I thought, yeah, I'm going to classify this as garage in my head. What that means basically is a lo-fi kind of sensibility. There's a sound as if some of the equipment might even be broken. There's certainly very ragged sound to it, and particularly the reverb that's used is quite short reverb to make it sound like it's in a small room as well. So the intention is that it sounds kind of spontaneous and fresh and lively, that kind of thing, without the polished edge of well-produced music. I think the irony is that this is probably actually very carefully produced to get the sound that they've got. The first time I remember hearing anything that had this similar sensibility to this was probably in the 80s. There was a song called Money by the Flying Lizards, I think it was, and it had a kind of clunky, drummy sound to it. But also I've heard Velvet Underground stuff that has this kind of sensibility, and then more recently the White Stripes. So apparently, so I have done some reading after I've done the first listen through. Apparently, there have been comparisons with the White Stripes with the Kills. I can hear why. I don't think they're exactly the same, but I think there's a lot of the same sensibility to it. And by which I mean that it has this kind of aesthetic of being lo-fi and kind of grungy in that sense. But the question is, how do you get quality when you've got that? And kind of stepping slightly aside, this always makes me think about, there's a video game called Limbo, which is all done in silhouette. So it's a really, really simple and stripped back aesthetic, but it's really effective. And so how do you do this? How do you pull off having a strong aesthetic when you've got a very limited range of sounds in some ways, and you also want it to sound like it's not particularly accomplished in that sense? And I think the answer is that you have to be really skilled. And I think that this is what Jamie has here, is that he has the skill of playing in such a way that actually gives it a real kind of oomph to it. So first of all, it's very kind of confident and ballsy, if you like. And it works really well. It's actually, I'm going to use this word again later, infectious. because I think it's just nicely done and nicely put together. So it's about understanding what you're doing with the sounds and the aesthetic, and they clearly do. Alison's vocals are great. I have to say, I really rate her as a vocalist. It's got a definite kind of punk feel to it, and she was in a punk band previously. So it has a bit of that. I don't really want to say Gwen Stefani or Debbie Harry from Blondie thing. More like, I can't remember her name, but in X, the band was a punk band back in the 80s, I think. But she can sing, she can talk, she can shout, she can do all sorts of things, and she's very good at using her voice. It doesn't sound particularly technical in terms of her singing, but actually the tuning is good, it's spot on, it's got a really clear voice, and it works really well. Some of the songs that I enjoyed best were the ones where actually both of them are singing, and I like the interplay between the two, and also when they were in harmonies with each other. Really nicely done. So I think once I actually get you past the unusualness of the kind of grungy aesthetic, actually it's pretty poppy, which is maybe a little bit, they might not like me saying that, but in the sense that it's very immediate, it has immediate appeal, it's very memorable, it's easy to remember, you get hook lines that you remember. It's quite simple in terms of the lyrics, and that's not to say that they aren't good lyrics, because let's talk about that. They're quite interesting generally, they're quite cool, they can be vague at times, but sometimes they can kind of work out what they're saying. And there's a little bit of, I'm not really sure what to say, some good thoughts there, or good insight, and well expressed, I think, is the thing that I'm looking for. So the whole thing altogether, it works, it clicks together. I found it infectious. I found that I was very happy to listen to it a second time, which I did, of course, and I'm looking forward to listening to it again. So I enjoyed it quite a lot. That's it from me for now.